On February 14th, 2009, Australian brothers Kevin and Luke Lordwachackle would create the YouTube channel SMG4, and they would make their first upload to the channel on May 7th, 2011. And from that upload forth, their content would improve drastically. And soon, they did something that no one would ever think they would. On August 25th, 2018, they would create a new video known as Mario is the Ultimate Gamer, in which they would create a new character named Tari, who would go on to appear in basically all their videos from there on out. And after that, they announced and released a new series for the channel, but this series wasn't like the other videos they made. It was different. An actual show, you may say. And that show was Meta Runner. The entirety of Season 1 for Meta Runner was uploaded to the SMG4 channel, but eventually when they decided to greenlit for Season 2, they uploaded it under a new channel known as Glitch Productions. And, I think you can get the picture as to what happens after that. It is really funny to think, though, that the same people who did this line...
Good memories can do a lot. Hold on to them. And cherish the people around you. You never know when they'll be gone. In this world, the worst thing you can do is make someone think they're not wanted or loved.
Also did this.
I don't know what this is.
And after finishing Murder Drones, I decided to take a look back at every single show that Glitch has ever produced. So come with me, viewers, I rank all 5 of Glitch's shows that they've produced. And one thing before we start, this style of ranking is heavily inspired by Schaefer's Productions, so I recommend you both go check the Glitch shows out, and also him. Anyways, without further ado, let's rank some stuff.
Well, I guess he's dead.
Okay, yeah, so I found it really hard to choose between the 2 bomb spots on this list as to what I think is the worst Glitch show. I don't think any of them are necessarily really bad, but honestly, Sunset Paradise isn't that good. This show will not work for anyone if they have not already watched SMG4. And no, I'm not counting SMG4 for the purposes of this ranking, because I really did not feel like sitting through all of it. But yeah, when I was finished watching this show, I kind of just felt empty. Like, I didn't find it boring. I just didn't get anything out of it. I mean, there were some good lines here and there, especially at the beginning and at the end of the show. And the main villain of the show is actually really good. But I got nothing else to say. The characters are mid. Most of the jokes are mid. The whole show as a whole is kind of mid. I really don't know what else to say. But, scratch that. Actually, I do. Remember how I said you need to watch SMG4 to know what this is about? Well, it's because, unlike with something like Meta Runner, this show is a direct spin-off to SMG4, rather than taking a character from SMG4 and giving them their own separate continuity within a different timeline. But, unlike Meta Runner, Sunset Paradise takes place within the world of SMG4, meaning that you have to know who Maggie is. And also, this one part where she shows a photograph of her and her friends, and it'll make you very confused if you haven't watched SMG4 and why the heck Mario is here.
It's me.
Anyways, this show is about Maggie from the SMG4 series who goes on vacation to this place called Port Aurora. And on this place, they host this thing called the Phoenix Festival, where they just have an egg that does something. I kind of forgot what happens with that. She ends up meeting this kid named Dory, who's the only sheriff in the town. And then after they have a duel with these criminals known as the Spud Duds, they then instantly become best friends. Yippee! Maggie is an alright protagonist, and Ori's kinda cute, but I didn't care for their relationship too much. And within episode 7, they have a breakup, and then only just a few minutes later, they instantly go back together. Whoop-de-frickin-do, everybody. The show also has like 5 villains, and only 2 of them do I actually like. The Spud Duds I definitely thought had decent designs and lines. I dig them. The plotline of one of the Spud Duds wanting to be a singer is kind of just really random, and it never gets brought up again after the second episode until like the final one, where it's just briefly mentioned with the Funky Force. And it's not really that interesting, but yeah, the Spud Duds overall, they're decent. But they will never compare to the main villain of this show, the one and only Benedict Cumbersnatch. He probably is the funniest character in the show from his good line delivery and jokes he makes. He also manages to somehow serve as a decent threat to the story, since he literally managed to beat the best sheriff in the town as an egg. How do you do that? I also like the way his face is animated and how it kind of looks like really rough crayon. That's kind of cool. And the fact that he managed to hire 9 characters to help him is genuinely insane. But for the other 3...
oh, hell.
There's Shadow Maggie, who's not even really a villain, just Maggie's subconscious thoughts thinking that everything in life sucks. But in reality, Shadow Maggie herself kind of sucks. And sometimes I like to talk about how a character is underutilized. But in this case, she's overutilized. Episode 3 felt like a great conclusion because Maggie just says straight to her face, "I don't give a damn," and she dies. But no, they bring her back in even more episodes and serve equally as much relevance. Then there's Whisk, who I really do not like the concept of. But as a villain, I guess she serves her purpose, but she's not really that funny or memorable or anything. At least she acts as a better villain than Shadow Maggie, though. And finally is the Funky Force, who, while I think have cool aesthetics and voices and whatever, I didn't really find that interesting. Plus, the thing with Joe Fresh felt very forced and not creative at all. Speaking of forced emotion, the mayor. His sacrifice scene is supposed to make you feel sad for, the fact that he dies. But I don't feel sad, and do you know why I don't feel sad? It's because I don't care about him. I do not care. If they had given some time for the mayor to develop, this could have actually been decent, but yeah, it's not really good. As for non-character related stuff, the action scenes in this show range from what you just saw there to low-budget animes. The only other compliment I can give this show is that I like the art style. It's kind of cute and charming, with the characters feeling very expressive. But other than that, this was basically my face the entire time I was watching it. Overall, I don't find the show to be bad, but I also didn't really find it to be that good. But hey, if you watch it, you might like it.
You can't read? No.
Okay, remember when I said that it was hard to rank Sunset Paradise from the show I have ranked here? Well, it's because while I think the show here has a higher quality, it's also just a single video and not a full-length show. And that show is Ultra Jump Mania. And listen, if Meta Runner and Sunset Paradise were forgotten, this show was practically Thanos snapped twice. And I mean, the fact that I found this 8-minute pilot better than a full series is quite frankly embarrassing to Sunset Paradise. Anyways, enough talking about how I didn't find Sunset Paradise good. What do I think about this show? Well, it's actually not bad. I don't want to exactly call it good since it's just an 8-minute short animation, unlike every other show on this list that's actually a full series. But overall, this isn't a bad animation. It's pretty alright. I like some of the details that they have, not necessarily in the show, but for the thumbnail on the video, it actually looks like an N64 game cartridge, which I think is pretty cool. While none of the jokes making me necessarily laugh, I feel like could probably be good. And also I like the crab boss at the end. Yeah, the crab's I like it when the robot says he has something illegal.
Oh no, that's illegal.
Yeah, but overall I don't have much to say about it. If you enjoy Meta Runner, I'm sure you'll get a decent time out of this.
God damn!
The last 2 shows I talked about on this list so far, I think are okay, but the rest of the shows on this list I would consider to be good. And to start with the good shows, we have Meta Runner. Remember how I said that Sunset Paradise is a show that you'd have to watch SMG4 for to make sense? Well, for Meta Runner, despite Tari being a character from there, you don't really need to know SMG4 to enjoy this show, in my opinion. The whole shtick of this show is that basically esports gaming has been taken to a whole nother level with these people called Meta Runners who have cybernetic arms which help them do better in games. And our protagonist, Tari, who managed to escape this creepy lab and has random flashbacks while she does it, ends up stumbling upon one of these tournaments and ends up wanting to try the game herself. And when she does, she ends up actually getting sucked into the game. The game she goes into specifically is Ultra Jump Mania, where she meets the main protagonist of the game, Theo, and then ends up forming a relationship with him as she goes through the game. When she escapes the game, she somehow brings Theo with her, and then ends up trying to escape from the company of Task Corp, while getting captured in the process before being saved by a guy named Lamar, who then brings Tari and Theo to this secret base type thing with two other guys, Sophia and Masa. And with the help of Tari, they try and take down Task Corp through a game-breaking glitch in a gaming tournament. That's pretty much just season 1 of the show, and the show has 2 other seasons, which are also very good. So other than story stuff, yeah, this show's pretty good with great characters, decent writing, really good action, and once again, very funny jokes. Plus, they make an Undertale reference, so it's automatically the best show of all time.
You're gonna have a bad time if you try to befriend a skeleton.
This show is an underrated gem and deserves a lot of attention. If you guys want to see a more in-depth review of this show, I'd gladly do one.
What, are you kidding me? I'm not just gonna be forced into this stupid adventure.
You can shut up now.
The Amazing Digital Circus is a pretty good time, all things considered, I must say. With really comedic characters that play off of each other really well. And just like with Metarunner, not a single one of them do I find unlikable. I mean, I don't even need to talk about what it's about, because you probably already know what this show is. It's everywhere. And once again, the comedy is chef's kiss. Absolutely beautiful. And this show has emotional beats, and when they hit hard. Genuinely, the conversation between Kinger and Pomni that I showed at the beginning of this video is probably one of the best lines to ever grace this animation studio. I'm also glad that each character is getting the screen time that they deserve, because there are definitely characters that, while stayed in the background, I wish got more screen time because they just feel interesting and deserve that screen time. I also really like how they hammer in home that this show indeed takes place in a video game. I mean, just look at Orbs Man in the background over here. This is exactly how a video game character moves, and I love it. The animation here is so good and fluent too. I haven't really brought it up for the older shows that I've talked about before on this list, but they kind of had this style to them that kind of made them look like it was, 3D rotoscoped or something like that. But with this show, it's fully animated and it looks really good. There are some character arcs in the show that I also consider to be pretty good. Like with Pomni, and how at the beginning of the show, she kind of starts not being able to adjust to the new life that she's been in. But as the episodes go on, she kind of becomes more adjusted to it and acts normal about it. Especially in episode 4, because in episode 4, she kind of just acts like that, yeah, this is her life now, she's got to accept it. Every other character, of course, is also great, like Kane, who is probably the funniest character in the show, and despite the amount of people call him despite the fact that there are people that call him a villain, I wouldn't really call him that because he doesn't exactly act like one, per se. He's more so just a misguided AI that doesn't really understand everyone that well. Or Jax, who's probably the second closest to the most hateable character in the show, but his hateableness is so charming that you can't help but love it. Kinger, who's probably my favorite character in the show just because of the scene in episode 3. It's too good, man. And even outside of that, he's still got some pretty good lines, like the perfectly cut off scream in episode 1, or how in episode 3 where he says, I'm starting to think, and just doesn't say anything from there. Gangle's a great character that I wish got more screen time originally, but with the release of episode 4, she absolutely delivers. She's really well animated and also has some really funny lines. Some of her scenes in episode 4 are also, genuinely terrifying, like that, and also this. I mean, horror movie writers, take notes on this. I'm also convinced that this frame was entirely made just so then everyone who made a video on this episode will put it in the thumbnail. Yeah, this show has a creepiness factor that I can absolutely get behind, because in the scenes where they do it, it's pretty well done. Once again, this scene in episode 4 was genuinely terrifying, with the music and the slow walking. It was scary. So yeah, this show's good. You should watch it, and it would have been number 1 on this list if it wasn't for one show that I think all of you know.
Yeah, I'm not doing okay.
It didn't even feel like a contest. Murder Drones is by far not just my favorite glitch production show, but my favorite show in general. My only real complaint with this show is that in episode 1, and only episode 1, the animation and character models could look a lot better, especially because that they use the similar animation style to Sunset Paradise and Matter Runner, which, like I said in the Digital Circus segment, it kind of looks rotoscoped in a way, which in my opinion just doesn't fit the style of these characters. But I mean, everything else is just great. The jokes are extremely funny. I mean, any line that comes out of any character is instantly quotable. I mean, if you just want anything funny out of this show, go watch an out-of-context compilation of stuff that happens, because I guarantee you it'll be the funniest video you'll ever watch. And I know I said this twice now, but once again, not a single character is unlikable. But let me just put that into perspective for you for a minute. This character you see on screen right now with a mustache, this is Condorman, the father of the main character of the show, and constantly throughout the show, he's seen loving doors over his own daughter, and even straight up leaving her for dead. Sure, there are characters like Jax who act hateable, but Jax is a likable kind of hateable. Con is just a hateable kind of hateable. But I am sorry, I cannot find myself to hate this guy. I mean, right after he's done his argument with Uzi, he pulls out a mug that says #1 dad on it. Like, that's actually funny. Or like I said earlier, with how far the show goes with showing how much he likes Doors more than his own daughter. Or how in episode 3, where after his obsession with Doors dies down a little bit and takes care of his daughter, he has to look at an instruction manual just to do that. Or him saying that he only left Uzi for dead once. I think you can get the picture by this point. But yeah, I like him. As for the other characters, they're also great. I like that dynamic between Uzi and N, who are both already some of my favorite characters in the show. Sin is an awesome villain. V is very goofy and kind of creepy, but also very fun. And she has a simple yet decent character development of, at first, absolutely hating Uzi and N, before actually becoming, decent allies. Even background characters like Thad and Izzy I found to be pretty charming and likable. It's especially surprising for Izzy, because Izzy feels like the kind of character I would really not like, but nah, she's just funny. She might have the single best joke in episode 4, and literally all she did was just make a sound and then get blown up. But yeah, you get the point. The characters are great. The only people I couldn't see liking this show are people who just love a really well done story, because the story isn't everything to write home about. But if that's not the case and you just want a goofy comedy show or something that makes you feel horror, then yeah, go watch this show. It is so good. If someone wanted me to watch this show again, I would gladly do so. Well, that was that. Every single Glitch show ranked. If you enjoyed this list, then please consider giving this episode a like. And also, did you disagree with any of my opinions? If you did, then that's completely fine. You can think that Sunset Paradise is a work of art and that Murder Drones is a steaming pile of white-hot garbage. It is completely okay to me if you guys don't agree with my opinion. Just don't be rude about it. And if you're wondering, yeah, I'll make a little short review about the 2 upcoming Glitch shows, The Gaslight District and The Knights of Universe, when they do come out, so that way you'll know where they would rank if I had made the ranking video when they came out. Do all the things YouTubers tell you to do to support their channel, and I will be seeing you guys in my next video. See ya there.